Welcome to Igniting the Spark. I'm your host, Stephanie James. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am sending you number one, so much love today. And I know we all need a little extra dose of that with everything going on in our world. So take a moment and take that breath into your heart and feel that, because in that place, that's where we're connected. That's where we're one. Today I am absolutely thrilled. My whole body's vibrating because I have on the show Garry Lineham. And Garry is a visionary entrepreneur and pioneer in self healing. And he's not just the co founder of Human Garage, he's a living testament to radical transformation. After 2 decades battling debilitating injuries, chronic pain, and even solitary confinement during incarceration, Garry spent millions on treatments that only offered temporary relief, trapping him in a cycle of dependency. But in his darkest moments, he unlocked the profound science of fascial maneuvers, a self care system that rewires the body from the inside out. So, with a deep entrepreneurial background, Garry has scaled Human Garage from a single clinic to a worldwide movement, mastering business models that drive explosive growth while prioritizing impact over profit. I am absolutely thrilled to have you on the show. Welcome, Garry.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hey, let's before we get started, I have a little ritual. I like to sync our energies so that we're in the same flow. You want to do that with me?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, and so anybody listening to this can do this too, and you'll be synced right into our conversation. So if you're sitting or standing, you just cross your right leg over top of your left or your ankle, or works. Right hand underneath your left armpit and left hand on top. Turn your head to the left and your body to the right. What we're gonna do is take 6 breaths together, 3 through the mouth and 3 through the nose. Breathe in through your mouth. 2, 3, through your nose. 2, 3.
Awesome.
Now, how do you feel?
I feel great. I feel grounded. I mean, not that I didn't feel grounded before, but our conversation before we got onto the interview was so heightened for me and exciting that I was kind of up here. And
Yeah.
I feel like my energy's come back in my body, like I'm grounded back in my body again.
And it appears like I'm actually closer to you,
Interesting.
and the world is farther apart. That's what sinking into a same energetic field is, and when we sync in an energetic field, if there's 2 of us or 3 of us, 10 of us, and we're in a group of 100 people, all of a sudden you'll feel those 10 people very close to you, and you'll feel like the other people are farther away. And that's your your nervous system's observation of being in the same frequency. And it happens when our bodies are exactly the same position and our breath match. And naturally, if we walk, this would happen in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. If we would start pacing, our feet would pace together, our stride would pace, then our hearts would start to beat together. And we found a way to just do this in 6 breaths.
Love this. Love this. Such a great reality hack, if you will. It's a beautiful biohack, and it's a beautiful way of coming into alignment with one another.
I like the word reality hack. That sounds better because biohack, we have so much emphasis on what biology is in this reality, right? And our world is a biology first world. And the truth is, we are a reality or energetic first world, and biology responds to that. And one of the reasons why I believe that we've had so much troubles as a society, as people, as humanity to understand ourselves is because we're the human fluid adaptive biological computing system we call human is technically a reaction to everything that's energetic outside of us, whether it's our aura, our field, the field of others, the worldwide field, the galactic field, all those things where we are a reaction to those things. And when you measure a reaction, you can never fix action by measuring reaction. And so part of it is that we also very egocentric, and we believe that everything revolves around us. But the truth is that we revolve around everything.
Say more about that.
Well, consciousness has a bunch of tentacles that are out there. And it's the job of consciousness is to experience every possibility. Not just one, not just mine, or not just two of mine, or the version that I put out. Consciousness wants to, like we say things are good or bad. Well, how can it be good or bad? Either we believe, if we believe in the creator, then there could be nothing bad. Everything is for good. And we mark, sorry, we say things are evil, but is evil really evil, or is evil just darkness? And if everything is good, then what is the darkness there for? Well, the darkness, first of all, was there a lot longer than the light. The light is a new kid on the block. It's only been around, if we get this understanding, I'm going to use a number, but 4.5 billion years, let's just say. And before that, it was just darkness. And the idea is, without darkness, the light can't shine, and there is no contrast. And the whole human experience is driven through contrast. Without contrast, we're dead. We have to have everyone when we breathe. What we do is we use muscle skeletal energy and we push against the forces of pressure in nature. And simultaneously, we draw air in a contrast. And that air provides the biological equivalent of electricity. But that is contrasted. So the idea of consciousness is out there. It's feeling everything. It's got the tree of life, and you're a Gemini, I'm a Sagittarius. So we're on opposite branches of that tree, but we're on completely polar opposite branches. And that branch goes off and it has a bunch of little branches and has a bunch of leaves. And we're just leaves on that tree. And the job of the leaf is to look back at the tree and reflect how great the tree is. But if we think we are the tree, then that's where the problem comes in.
Mm. Love that analogy. Yeah, that's so powerful. That's it, and so I wanna go back, Gary, a little bit into you've got such a compelling and interesting life story. Did you I'm curious just about this journey for you into you have such an incredible, expanded consciousness, I would say, and were you always like that? I mean, did you feel like as you grew up,
Mm.
you were that kinda kiddo? And to kinda skip ahead too, because you've had some big life challenges and then had some incredible things happen
Yeah.
in your life.
Yeah, I think I would have actually said there were challenges. There's two attitudes. Either life's happening to you or it's happening for you. And if it's happening to you, those are challenges. If it's happening for you, those are opportunities. We talked about that before. And no, I wasn't always like this. I had from the time I'm a little kid, I had this vision of doing something great in the world, and I had this this gap where I didn't feel like I was living up to that constantly, and I was trying to figure out. It's like a child trying to win uh, father or mother's approval and never quite doing it. And so my whole life was filled with this not good enough, not and no matter how much I did, no matter what I achieved, it wasn't good enough, and I needed to find more. And one of the things that happened for me is I had this turning point, a couple years ago. Where I realized that what I came here to do is already happened. Like we have a worldwide movement that's happening that's growing by, tens of millions of people. Now it's like tens of millions of people are being impacted every month, like a quarter billion people. um, a quarter billion people download a maneuver and do it every single every 4 months right now. And so if I left, that's not going away because these are life skills that people have. So I realized that what I felt I came here to do, I had connected with it. Like I was meant to do this. This is my dharma, my plan, my journey, my soul journey, whatever you want to call it. I found it, and I'm doing it. And so then the question is, and it's already done technically because it's already happening. It's spreading. It'll go without me anyways. So the question is, why am I here? And that was the point. Like, what do I want to do? Like, if I've already done what I came here to do, I mean, it's going to get a lot bigger, and I can ride that wave, but I don't have to find the wave. I'm already surfing it. So then, what does my life look like, and why am I here? What's the bigger purpose of me? And I believe everybody has this in them, but people are it's kinda like when you if you raise a Bengal tiger in captivity, it thinks it's human. It's really weird. It'll wanna sit at the table, it'll wanna be with all the humans. And then a Bengal tiger comes in face-to-face contact with another tiger, and it instantly becomes wild because it realizes that there's a potential beyond the the nurturing and programming that it grew up in. And, I feel that it's my job in this world now to show people that face of that tiger. It's like, what is it that potentially could be if you found your plan? And the best way to find your plan is to look at what would you do afterwards.
Interesting. I wanna hear more about that. If you find
Well,
you
if
think
you're gonna
about what
shoot
you
at
would
the
do
bar if you
afterwards,
shoot at the
yeah.
sky, you're gonna hit the barn, as
Yeah,
a simple way of
yeah.
saying it. So people are they think that their journey is to find their path, the reason why they're here. There's this search, and we weren't put on this earth to, like, to get a house and have a job. And, honestly, we weren't put on this earth to just have kids either, or to find a spouse. That there is an experience that goes beyond all those things, that those things are a part of. And people will find it. They'll find it the moment they cross over or sometime before that. But everybody does. I mean, that was our soul journey. And it's really cool to to think about from my point of view now, to experience, to be a part of this, to say, what am I going to do? Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And that why I'm here is changed from time to time. At first, I thought I was supposed to, produce something in the world. First, I thought I was a son of a mother and a father. And then I thought I was a father to children. Then I thought I was, like I was this entrepreneur bringing stuff to the world, and then a healer. And then I realized I was actually none of those. And and then that's when the journey really starts, because the rest of them, they're all I am less than and I need to be.
Yeah. Yes, I so resonate with this, Gary. It's really reminded me of it's been almost 20 years ago where I got a very clear download. Like, your purpose is to bring as much love and healing to the world as possible through all the different mediums, whether it was psychotherapy or as a transformation coach, or then later in my films and retreats and books. And yet that just identifying your purpose, I love this. I just haven't heard this spoken. That's not the pinnacle. That's not the
No,
pinnacle experience here.
no, 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 because the purpose itself, if I'm identifying and living in the purpose, then I can't, it goes back to observation. The highest state of being is authenticity. And to be authentic, it's to observe oneself. And I can't observe myself when I'm doing it. Listen, I have an interesting thing. I've had a lot of, like, super elite world class athletes, and when you work with people, there's things that happen in the world and in nature, and when you work with people, you see reflections or themes of stories, and there's a difference between a world class athlete and then a world athlete who breaks a world record, and then there's a world athlete who breaks a world record that changes the human history. Like, I have a friend. Um, Anthony Kunkel, he's a runner. He does those 100-mile marathons. Yeah, don't even ask. The guy runs 20 miles a day just to warm himself up. And so he runs these, and I've been working with him over a couple of years because I believe he's going to shatter a world record. And I asked him this question once when he was out working and training. And I said, "Well, name me one runner in history, just one, that, like, over 30 years ago, like past 30 years," and he's 35-ish. And I said, "Name one runner in human history that you remember from 35 years ago." And, it's tough. Like, well, Ben Johnson, Carl Lewis, there's a couple, but they kinda came and went. Name one really important one. And the only one he could come up with was Roger Bannister, who broke the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that Roger Bannister broke a 4-minute mile. The interesting thing that happened was, at the time, the belief system was if you ran that fast, your lungs would collapse. So you would die. So through the act of running fast, under a 4-minute mile, he didn't break a world record. He proved humans wouldn't explode or implode on that. So he changed the viewpoints of what humans believed about themselves. Now, that's the difference between being a record holder, breaking a world record, and changing humanity. And and these are subtle differences, but one is, and I always imagined, I said, what was Roger Bannister going through on that day? Because in order for you to do that world record in a contest, you most likely have done it already in practice somewhere. So it's not about doing it. It's about, well, in order to break a world record, number one is you have to be mentally, physically, emotionally prepared at that time. Fair enough. But on top of that, um, you have to be the day that you break it, it's not a day of ego. The day you break the world record, you win a race, but the day you break a world record is the day where you let go of the ego of it. You just you become one with the reason why you did it. I love running. But the way that you change human history is when you observe yourself letting go of the ego at the exact moment that your ego is moving. Because ego is energy, is your energy in motion. So it's the observation of that at that time, which is what changes human history. And very few people have ever had that kind of experience. There's a couple of them around, but Roger Bannister is one of the ones that's easiest to see right now because it changed the belief not about what humans could do, but about who we are. Because lots of people break these world records, and we'll never forget. Like, um, I was going to use something like first person in space, but that's a lot of question right now too. You never, but there's a lot of people that have broken things in the world and that are technology based, but they don't necessarily change the viewpoint I have of my own potential. And so when I alter other humans' ability to believe in their potential is when the world stands up and recognizes. And that's where greatness is.
That's so powerful. I love that, and I remember, Gary, I have
Mm.
a vivid memory of when that happened and he broke that 4-minute mile and how what was so amazing to me then was right after that, very shortly after that, person after person after person after person was running 4-minute miles.
Right, right. And the crazy part was okay, so this is how consciousness works. Back to consciousness. Somebody broke a threshold. Half of them didn't even know he broke it. But because the energy provided the space for that, then all humans potentially move through that energy. And that's why the US Patent Office exists because it knows that when an idea comes down, it comes down to two places at once. That's why Michael Jackson, would wake up and Prince would do the same thing. They would wake up in the middle of the night, get their whole recording to get them all up, say, I got to go record this now because if I don't, Michael Jackson say Prince will record it. Like if you know, you know. If you're at that stage and you know, you know. And, and again, that's also being an observation of myself, and that's the highest state of awareness. But we have a culture that's growing, and that culture in awareness, like for example, the I am movement, I am love, I am peace. It's all great, but I am is the root chakra. And when I say I am, I'm bringing all of my manifestations through that root chakra. Root chakra is a fun place to be if you like turmoil, if you like anger, greed, sadness, shame, guilt, if you like to get over it, joy and pleasure. Hey, it's not a bad place to be. But you can bring it through your sacral, I create. You can bring it through your your solar plexus, I feel, I love, I speak up, I perceive, and I embody. And those are all different ways to experience this world.
Well, and I love that as well, and it's interesting because that is such a huge movement, right? I am. So to get to that higher connection and to bring that frequency up, what do you invite people to do?
Well, then that's what fascial maneuvers are. Um, when you say I'm raising my frequency, okay, we all talk about that. And those aren't my vibes. I want to raise my frequency. We have that as a concept. So how does that concept actually work? What's the mechanism of that concept? Because there has to be some way that we physically in this world embody and bring that concept into the world. So think about this. You have this we were taught, like a human being, I have a soul. I have an aura. Well, from a soul's perspective, he's like, I've had 20,000 of you, and if you disappear, I'm just going to pick another one. So from the soul's perspective, they're not bonded to us. That spirit somewhere has had many of me, and the way I see it, probably has many of us right now simultaneously. So I don't own it. It's not my soul. So that's the first problem. Second of all, I have an aura. Well, there's a 6 feet field, heart math, of course, has got the radiation field of the heart. Well, I'm going to say that it's probably even a little bit more, but just say that there's a 6 feet field. There's a bioentropic field. We can measure it. Dogs can see it. Krillin photography. You and I know it exists. So that 6 feet field is by default a higher frequency. And as we'll call that the human experience. And as you come in towards that field, it gets denser and denser and denser. And those who see auras will see a darker one towards the field. And then it comes to this skin. And from its skin, it gets denser and denser all the way down to the bone at the core of the human experience, which is the densest part of the human experience. So basically, this part, if we look at way energy works, it's higher frequency. So we say higher frequency, say more smarter, more intelligent, and then as we get to the center, it becomes more dense. Think of the word dense. We're dense. So we've identified of the human experience this dense part as being the human experience, which was a mistake. The
You
so
just
we
went
we
off of you just went off your microphone stopped for a moment.
testing, testing, testing.
Now it's back.
Really?
Sorry.
Okay.
That
Yes.
was interesting. So you said so
Whoa, that was kind of weird.
yeah.
So we've identified the dense part of the human experience as the human experience, but really the human experience includes that field around us, and that's that 6 feet field of social distancing because we don't want to connect them. And so by default, if I'm raising my frequency, what I'm doing is I'm moving into my awareness into that field. But if you put the human body under stress, we collapse from awareness into fight or fight, fight or flight. And the mechanism which puts us in that field is that biological crystal part of us. That's called our fascia. So when it's blocked, like what we're doing right now with all of these chemicals and vaccines and dehydration and heavy metals, is we're actually taking the crystal and we're putting metal in the crystal. So when frequency comes through, it goes ping, 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 ping. It doesn't have a clear route. And what I've observed, and the way I got to where I am in my life today, is I clean my crystals. And when I meet you in person, you touch my body, you're gonna go, "Whoa, that feels weird," because I feel like a 6-month-old baby, like literally. It looks like I have muscle, but actually it's all this fascia tissue. And I'm super like, to the point where it will, like, the first time you touch me, I have people touch me all over the world because 'cause they're like, "Whoa, this just doesn't feel adult." And we're supposed to be this fluid crystal, and we're not anymore. And so how do we raise our frequency? We clear up the crystal, first of all, and that allows our point of observation to move from the sacral chakra all the way up through to the field.
And how do we do that, Gary? Give us
Well, I mean, that was my journey. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, and by the way, there are some people who can throw a basketball really good, some people who do math really good, some people who shoot a gun really good. There's people that have observation of skills, like psychics that can get there, but
Mhm.
often all the rest of their lives aren't quite matched up. So in my journey was cleaning up the fascia. So I opened up my fascia and instantaneously the fluid adaptive biological computing system started allowing me to get there. Now let me break down the human body for you from a scientific point of view. We're made of water, silica, sand, bacteria, parasites. If you want to say viruses, but there's an argument around that too. But let's just say we're basically some animals and we're water and sand. So we're the same composition as a quartz crystal. And if you have a crystal and it's pure, great. But if you put smoke in that crystal, smoky crystal, you put heavy metals in that crystal, it degrades the signal capabilities. Your cell phone, like people don't think about this, but calcium is at our bones, like heavy calcium, right? Calcium is a metal,
Mm.
minerals, metals. So if calcium's a metal, at the core of us is a bunch of metal, and wrapped around it's a bunch of crystal, sand, water, bacteria. That's quartz crystal. So we're basically crystal wrapped around a metal rod in the shape of what we call a skeleton. So that metal rod is trying to send and receive signals. And if the crystal around it, like if you take your crystal on your cell phone, and in your cell phone, remember the old days we had this wireless antenna that would go like this and up the top in a ball? Well,
Yeah.
basically our sacrum is like this. We have a spine and we have a ball on the top right here. So we are meant to send and receive signals. And when our crystal's dirty, it's hard to, or it doesn't work all the time, or it doesn't work properly. So when we open up our crystal, we naturally can start to send and receive those signals.
That is so I mean, I just keep getting the chills as you're saying this, Gary, and so that's part of what your fascial maneuvers are about, is to help
Yeah,
people
that's
open that up.
yeah, and like I can tell you that there's got to be another way. Like this can't be the only way. I discovered this way or channeled this way. The reason why they're free is because I don't own them. But this methodology of getting there, I brought into this world, which means simultaneously somebody else brought something else in. And there are some core principles that are at play, and those principles are really just observations of why this doesn't work in the first place. Like we're dehydrated and demineralized. Today, the average person is 60 to 65% water, scientifically, not my opinion, taught in medical school right now. But 30, 40 years ago, if you went to medical school or nutrition school, you would have learned that we're 70% water.
Mm.
60 years ago, you would have learned that we're 80% water. 80% water. Everybody else 60% water. And if you think about this from a structural point of view, okay, take a building like I'm in my place here is made of concrete. That's what the walls are. But if I concrete is made up of sand, silica, basically sand, and water that's dried. It's very, very similar. But if I removed uh, 20% of the construction material, then my building here would be not stable, wouldn't function right. Well, when we move 20% of our construction material, which is our water,
Mm.
then we're not quite stable and we don't quite function right. And, simultaneously over the last 50 years, as we've been becoming more and more dehydrated, simultaneously we become more and more dysfunctional as a human being, as a species. There's no measure of being human today that is better than it was 20 years ago. There's not one measure. There's not one measure of health, consciousness, sleep, biological, physiological. We're sicker than we've ever been. Every disease is at its peak. Every disease, mental, physical, emotional, perceptual, society disease is at its peak. Never, ever been this much. So that we can't say that we're not living longer either. So we can't say that we're better than we were 20, 30 years ago.
My mind is blown right now, and I'm because, of course, that's the myth, and that's the thing that I we hear about, oh, all these scientific advances and all these things are happening. So, yes, we are living longer, we're curing diseases.
Well, hold on. So let me take a step back. They stats are a funny thing. The stat pool had infant mortality until 13, now 14 years ago. They removed infant mortality. It changed the overall length of life.
Mm.
But that number, they've only been able to manipulate it for so long. But if you think about in your friend groups and in circles and stuff like that, how many people have a chronic issue? And I asked this on stage, 2 years ago, it was, somewhere between 40 and 50% of an audience. A year ago, it was between 60 and 70% of an audience. Today, just recently, over the last couple months, sometimes thousands and thousands of people, 95 to 98% of the people either have a chronic issue or their immediate family has one. And that's just a warning sign for where we're going. Like we are we have a lot of technology, but simultaneously, and we have a lot of people that are following ancient practices and shamanic practices and getting nutrition and stuff like that. But then why is everybody simultaneously in the greatest state of dysfunction that they've ever been in? And the answer to that question embedded in the answer is the or sorry, in the question is the answer. It's it's there are things that we are not acknowledging as humans that are happening around us to all of us simultaneously, and that's why we don't really look at it that way.
Well, and what are those things, Gary? What are you seeing as
Well, we
those?
have environmental issues, which stop us from being as healthy. Like for example, we're all dehydrated. How do we get that way? It happens simultaneously all around the world. It can't be the water, it can't be the food, it can't be the lifestyle, can't even be the cities necessarily. It has to be something that's ubiquitous. Well, it's stuff we spray in the skies, that's ubiquitous.
Mhm.
There's a chemical in there called barium. You know what's funny is that a year ago you could have talked about you could have talked successfully about chemtrails. Now all of a sudden even ChatGPT will argue that they're not true. Meanwhile, we're putting legislation saying that we can't have it. That's how crazy this is a war on perception for sure. And there's a chemical that's in everybody's hair, and I found this in 10,000 patients' hair at the clinic. I found barium, strontium, and aluminum at extremely elevated levels. And currently, people have been getting this weird snow all over North America that they've been sending to the labs, and they've been getting barium, strontium, aluminum in there, amongst bunch of other stuff, which I'm not going to talk about. And so somewhere along the line, we're all breathing something, which is barium depletes the body's silica, which is our primary ingredient and element. And without silica, we don't absorb the other minerals right. We don't absorb the minerals right. We don't hold sodium, potassium right. We start to dysregulate water. Now, that's a pretty good observation. And when I went out in 2019 and said it publicly, next thing you know, the bank was shutting me down. The state was coming into the clinic. It was a complete shit show. And we ended up shutting down the clinic because of that pressure. And and also knowing that we had to impact the world a different way and something was coming.
Well, and I wanna say something really quickly. I wanna interject something in here about your clinic because this is a clinic that started a very small clinic in Venice Beach that went to 50 million people in 5 years.
Well, the clinic itself actually, so we I mean, that was the ground, the foundation. The clinic had 10,000 active patients. They were all the celebrities, and we got to people through because we were like if Ben Affleck was a client, Tyson Gay, the U.S. Olympic teams. I mean, we were known for that. But when we went online to the public and in 2020 and started sharing these fascial maneuvers free of charge, that's when the people and to be honest with you, when we say 50 million people today, that's an extreme understatement. We serve 1 billion people every 4 months right now, and with media and 250 million download an intervention like a fascial maneuver. People download it because they're going to do it. So if 250 million people every 4 months download a fascial maneuver, 1/4 of them is practicing that on a regular basis. But that's growing every month too. So like in 4 months, we'll have a different conversation. It's 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 tens and tens and tens of millions. We're impacting hundreds of millions today.
It's so powerful because it's like the powers that be that tried to shut you down and maybe not allow all this information out.
Yeah.
There was something bigger. Um, you can call it consciousness, you can call it whatever you will, that wanted to come through this at an even larger scale.
What if the powers to be weren't trying to shut me down? What if they were just telling me to do it a different way?
Oh, I love that. Right.
Yeah.
Right. What if that
So
was the opportunity, like you said, instead of the
that so
challenge, that was the opportunity?
that and I actually believe that there's a coordinated non-malevolent attempt to get humans to change. And but humans, as a species, we don't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. And if we
Mhm.
didn't have all this input and all these people sick and dying and all this pressure and this and censorship and all, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't change anything. We just live the way we're living. And evolution requires stressors.
Mhm.
So what if they actually knew that they're doing this to help us, but we think they're hurting us? Because it has to feel real. Like a near death experience is only beneficial because you actually go right to the edge. But if you don't go to the edge, you don't have the experience. If it's like, whoa, that one could have killed me. Well, it's very different than I actually died, crossed over, and came back. There's the two different outcomes that are very, very different. So, what if that's the way it's supposed to be? And that's where I'm at today, which it's a little hard for me to explain that to the people around me that feel that because there's still pressures. I mean, every once in a while we get hit in a direction, we get a censorship tag. We got heavily censored in 2024, August 8th. Like so there's things that happen, but I'm like, well, what if that's just telling me to go over here?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's really and there is people that have become resilient and they're really good at it. I was really good at being resilient, but resilience will kill you eventually.
Yeah, say more about that. I agree. I totally agree.
Well, resilience means I'm still putting up a fight. But if I'm not fighting, I'm just moving around. I'm letting the river if I'm going down a river and resilience is like swimming against the current to go where I want. If I just let myself flow, I'm going to go where the river takes me. But if I'm swimming, I'm not gonna see the trees and the bushes and all the other stuff around. If I just let the river take me, I'm gonna observe everything and have a very different experience rather than swimming against a river. Maybe that's a way to say it.
That's great. I love that, and, it's reminded me of, when you and I first spoke, which is over a month ago now, I think one of our first calls where we just jumped on a Zoom and we were just chatting, I'd moved into this new house in this really sacred land in Santa Fe in this, incredible enchanted place, and, Gary, I had thing after thing after thing after thing go wrong in this house when I came in. And I started thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, is it something like the land doesn't want me here?" I was doing, like, every ritual, I'm, like, doing tobacco blessings, and I'm saging the shit out of everything, and I'm just trying to I'm like, "What is it?" And it was so beautiful. My neighbor that I was telling you about before we got on the call, Dominique, who is just I showed her my chart that you had beautifully done for me, and she's like, "Oh, all this chaos is actually happening for you. Actually,
Yeah.
this is a gift from the land so that you can drop into a different place within you and not be in the intellect and figuring everything out and try to come from it from a soft place, but more like this is about you getting into your fire and embracing some divine feminine." And I think that was one of the
Sure.
things you pegged with me when we first met too. You were like, "Oh, here's a masculine wound, that you and I can heal together right now."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are again, the entire life, every part of our life is actually that way. And the the real mastery is to see it that way when it happens. It's really easy to see it 20 years later. And the fun of it the reason why I ask everybody's birthday is because I I know who I am and what I'm doing, and I can see in order for you to manifest anything, 12 archetypes have to come in. And I know which ones are in my life right now, and I know when all of a sudden a bunch of Tauruses come in my life, it's we're about ready to come. It's coming, and then because I know when a bunch of Geminis come in my life, whoa, the communication's coming. So now the communication and the thought and all that's coming in, and then March the Pisces, and then March the Capricorns, and then March the Aries, and they'll come in that order, and then the Tauruses come, and I'm like, "Okay, this whole thing I've been working on is about to come." And then the Virgos show up, and poof, all of a sudden it manifests. And I ask everybody because in probability, I can see it in a cab driver, an Uber driver, I could see it in a chef or somebody and then people come up to me on the street all the time. And the ones who notice me, I'm like, "When's your birthday?" Because I know that somehow that energy is impacting the manifestation that I'm in.
It's so cool. It is so cool, and I again, I thanked you before we got on the call, and I'll thank you again because it has been an incredible tool in my life and to have that awareness, and, um, and also I just wanted to tag a note on there, as soon as I had that conversation with her and had that awareness that it was a gift, all the stuff that was happening in the house stopped.
Right. So what happens is the universe just keeps giving you when we're not acknowledging the reason why things happen, they get louder.
Mm.
And then when we acknowledge it and go, okay, that's happening because of this, they shrink in velocity. And in other words, the contrast or the notification goes down. Like if I don't get up in the morning, my alarm goes deet, 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 deet. If I don't get up 15 minutes later, it goes rah, rah, rah. Because the alarm is trying to tell me something that I wanted to know.
That's it. That's it. It's like Oprah Winfrey used to say, that, like, the universe is always speaking to you. Oftentimes, it speaks to us in whispers, and if you don't listen, it speaks a little louder, and if you still don't listen, eventually, it's a brick to the head.
My friend Jules Horn, who's uh, amazing man who's coming up through the ranks, like he's gone into the millions of followers just recently. He and I started with him. He used to be a model and a personal trainer and a well-known model. And he said something to me the other day that just caught me. He goes, my ego is screaming, but God's whispering." And I'm
Love
like,
that.
"Oh, I love that," because that's exactly what it is. Yeah, yeah, and I have to, eh, let go of the screaming or stop the screaming or tune it out in order to hear the whisper.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, and I know that we're just about out of time, Gary, and before we are, though, I wanna tap into just a little bit more of your insight and your wisdom because, so many people right now are living in fear, are living in chaos, are really scared with what's happening, um, and I'm curious for yourself, how do you find that place of centeredness or well-being, and how are you maneuvering through this, and what might you tell other people that are kind of needing that sense of, like, "It's okay," like.
You just you in the question was the answer. How do I maneuver through this?
Oh, love it.
So, a fascial maneuver, rebalances the energy fields around you, and when you do that with presence, scary things aren't so scary, and people can go to our website or go to YouTube and do a 15-minute stress reset. So, write down all your problems in the world, all the things that scare you, all the things that are in your mind presently, do a 15-minute reset, and then go back and look at that list. It changes within 15 minutes, and we just weren't given tools that really brings the body out of stress, like exercise or yoga, things like that. They're all good practices, but they actually put the body in stress, and then you calm down through it. Fascial maneuvers raise serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin right away within seconds. And that's why when we did that little sync up, we were instantaneously dropped in a zone. There's nothing else I know that works that fast. So that's how I maneuver my way through it. The trick is to observe the pain and talk to it, whatever it is. Um, the fear is not fear. Fear is an emotion that's coming out of you so that you can elevate. And same thing with grief and anger and stuff like that. And everybody's in it in one way. Everybody's in it one way. I have an interesting situation right now because I have some friends that are authors that caught up in the Epstein thing indirectly.
Mm, mm.
And one of them was calling me. I'm not going to tell her name, but I said, look at that person who was caught up. Would just you just co-authored some stuff with them. It doesn't mean that you're them. And I said, well, conversely, because I don't have any of that going on. And I used to have all that shit going on. I have somebody coming up being very loud in my past about something, trying to get me, and I'm like, this whole time, I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, but it's here. So what is the lesson? And I can look at my astrology to know why it is. It's a Pisces yelling so loud that my 28-degree Pisces Chiron, which is the grandmaster step of Pisces, is to make sure that that energy is out of me. So as I let it out, as I accept it, I also let it out. And that energy as it comes out, eventually that energy is what draws the situations in the world towards me. And when I let the energy out, whether it's fear, shame, guilt, or whatever, then I stop having to draw the reflections that bring it out. And so the key thing is this: if you have fear, you have anxiety, grief, sadness, whatever, talk to it. High grief, high sadness. I see you there. What do you want me to see? Do a maneuver. Change your perception and then look at it in a different way. And constantly over time, what I found is that when I did fascial maneuvers that brought my body out of stress every day, over 30 days, the physical pain started to go away. 30 more days, the emotional triggers started to go away. 30 more days, and I'm like telling new stories in my head about those things. And it took me 3 months, and that 3 months, during the pandemic is why I put it online for free, is as that 3-month window of time, and that change in the way I perceive myself in the world, that literally 3 months is what made the difference because I had spent 35 years trying to get rid of what I thought was physical pain.
Mm.
And I unraveled $17.5 million, 35 years of a third of that being a practitioner. That at the end of it, I'm in pain physically still. And as I got rid of that with these maneuvers, after 3 months, I was telling a new story, and that new story is what brought me to where I am today.
Gary,
It's
I
that quick,
love this.
that
I
simple.
love it, and the fact that you are giving it for free, that people can just access this information. I mean, what a gift to the world. And how can people, number one, how can they find out more about you, and how can they access these YouTubes? And we'll have links to all of this in the show
They can
notes.
just they can just go to Human Garage on any channel anywhere and find it. I suggest you start with a 15-minute stress reset. Try that for like a week. Do it once a day, twice a day for 1 week. Just do that and see what changes your life. I don't have to talk anymore, sell anymore. That will change your life. And if you really want to know more about us, just go to 10 of your friends. There's like 5 or 6 of them that follow us or something, and there's probably 2 or 3 of them that are doing it. You just don't know it. They're doing it in their homes because this is a movement of self care that was taught to do by yourself at home. You didn't go to a yoga studio to do it. The reason why we're on this worldwide tour is because we're drawing people out of the home or coming out of the closet, you might want to say. It's funny because we go to events and people are like, "I didn't know your neighbors. You're my neighbor. I didn't know you're doing this." This happens all over the world right now. So part of it is just look around. Type human garage anywhere in a search engine, and if you're in for the ride, just follow what comes up. If you're not, try a 15-minute stress reset. There's a 7-day. There's also a 28-day. And if you are a practitioner or coach and you want to learn how to impact your lives and the lives of others very, very rapidly with tens and tens of millions of people looking for help right now and only 1,000 plus that are helping them, then sign up for one of our coaching programs.
So awesome, Gary. Oh my gosh. And for the final mic drop, if you will, if you had to leave an essential message intuitively with the audience, what would that be?
Trust yourself. Quit listening to the outside noise. Trust that you're here. Everything's happening for a reason. That if with trust, you can move through everything. Um, it's funny because people are, they have a belief, and in order to raise your belief, you have to have evidence. And then once you get that evidence, you can step ahead and raise another belief to get more evidence. And you raise belief, get evidence. And there's a point in time where you stop looking for the evidence. And that's when belief becomes faith.
Mm, beautiful. Beautiful. Gary, I cannot thank you enough for being here with us. This has been just like such an incredible, amazing conversation. I've loved every moment of it. I know the listeners have loved every moment of it. Thank you for sharing your spark and your wisdom with all of us.
Thank you for doing what you've been doing for so long. You're, guiding the iconic leaders of this world through conversations which are radically needed and shifting people right now.